Hey, what's up guys? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4Cap Scaler. It's time for some gaming tests on OLED, and there also will be OLED versus the edge-lit LED KS-8000 comparison as well. But first thing first, let's go ahead and let's start with Final Fantasy. I also want you to keep in mind what you are seeing through this camera, it's totally different than what I'm seeing, okay? I'm trying to adjust my low light as much as I can. Trying to give you that picture quality that I'm seeing. What I mean by the low light is what low light basically means is the brightness that's emitting towards the camera lens will be oversaturating contrast. So I have to basically get my saturation low light down so you guys can see what I'm seeing. I mean, it looks pretty good. And honestly, the peak brightness here I am like watching this like even in a dark room, and still the peak brightness here, it's pretty good for OLED. I mean, 800 nits, it's really not that bad. That's actually pretty good for an OLED, because with the OLED you already have that deep dark levels because there's no backlighting. So 800 peak brightness is pretty darn good for an OLED. Now, if I was to put this TV in a very bright lit up room and then I put my KS-8000 next to it, KS-8000 will be more brighter because of those peak brightness nits that it has on there. But this is still pretty good, you know. This is still... Look, here's the thing, guys. When I do these videos, you have to understand I have both TVs. You know, I'm not riding one horse and just telling you get the OLED. I have both of them. I haven't returned my, or I haven't sold my KS-8000. I have OLED, LED, and plasma, my old Samsung plasma, which still works. It's out in the bedroom. So this is coming from a guy who has TVs. Okay, so you can either believe me, what I say, or you don't have to believe me what I say. You know, it's take it or leave it, basically. But just know this, I have both TVs. Therefore, I'm not riding any horse trying to say this one's the best, this one's not the best. They're both good TVs, but they're both different technologies. All right? There's certain things that that KS-8000 can do, and that's faster, you know, response time and what, 24 milliseconds or what, I forgot what it was. And also barely, you will not notice that input lag present as it is present here.
Well, just so you know, I'm cool with camping.
Now, the one interesting thing I've noticed with this OLED TV is when you turn off that motion flow, which honestly I'm not a huge fan of that motion flow. I wasn't a fan of it on the KS-8000. I'm definitely not a fan of it here on the OLED. I've noticed when you turn off that motion flow, the game becomes more responsive, you know, between the controller and what you see on the screen, and looks much better. And there's been a lot of questions people have been asking me if you put, well, I think I already answered that question, but there's been a lot of questions people have been asking me if you put OLED and KS-8000 next to each other on a very lit up bright room, which one will stand out the best? Well, of course, you do the math. Look, both of these TVs, there's no, what I'm trying to say, guys, is this, and this is an outgoing epidemic that's going on with a lot of tech people out there. There is no perfect anything. The word perfect shouldn't even exist, honestly. There's no such thing as perfect. And there's no perfect TVs. There's only preferences. Okay, what is your preference? Okay, if you like watching movies, because when you go to cinema, you watch movies in a dark room. They turn the lights off, and that's the movie experience, okay? If you like watching movies, then yeah, OLED is the best option to go with. If you like watching movies in a lit up room, then yes, that peak brightness will definitely help. So there's certain things that LED can do, which is the peak brightness, which also helps the wide color gamut, you know. And the great example of that wide color, I think the best wide color gamut that I have seen, it's Z90 from Sony. I was at the Magnolia with my friend Lucky, and we were testing it out. And Z90, we compared it to a bunch of here's the thing, I cannot do any filming in Magnolia because of a conflict of an interest. I wish that I could, so I can show you this stuff. But even if I did, you won't be able to see it through camera, okay? If I could, believe me, I would, but I can't, okay? Because I don't have the authorization to do so. It's a conflict of interest, and Magnolia doesn't want to be responsible for any kind of opinions of comments that could be a conflict of interest between these partnerships they had with these different brands, okay? Whether it's LG, Sony, Vizio, Panasonic, etc., etc. So that's the reason I can't do it. They won't allow me. Legally, I can't do it. Unless I'm released, I have a release form, and then I can do it. But trust me when I tell you, Z90 has the best wide color gamut and the peak brightness that I have seen. And the deep dark levels are definitely one of the best. They're not OLED. I wouldn't say they're like OLED deep dark levels, but they're definitely close. Okay, they're definitely close, but they're not like the best. And look, Z90, it's definitely state-of-the-art TV. If you go buy Z90, honestly, you won't be disappointed. You'll have benefit, the best of the both worlds. You're gonna have the best possible deep dark levels that you can get with the LED full array backlit TV, and then you're gonna get the best possible peak brightness, and then you're gonna get that processor that's inside. That processor, the X1 processor, is definitely much better processor. That's why it costs so much, and you're gonna get the that peak brightness that will definitely give you that 10-bit full array of wide color gamut spectrum, meaning that the colors will just pop in such vibrance that you're gonna be in awe. So yeah, I mean, Z90, I would say this year, Z90 2017, it's definitely one of the top of the line TVs you can buy, you know, but it will cost you arm and leg, $6,000. So you know, again, you know, you get what you pay for, people.
Feels nice here.
And $6,000, it's not like some chunk change, you know. All right, so as you can see, the Final Fantasy looks really good here on the OLED. And you guys probably wondering, well, what are the settings that you're using? The settings I'm using currently are still under the bright HDR bright, because I was so busy, guys. I didn't have time to even turn my computer on. That's how busy I was throughout these next 3 or 4 days, doing YouTube, doing my other job and personal life, and dealing with you guys and answering the questions and dealing with the fanboys and etc., 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 guys. Okay, all of this stuff takes time, and I just didn't have time to go through the entire hassle, going and follow the steps and download that update for HDR game. So I'll try to get that HDR game update when I can, but this is pretty much what I'm running right now. Let me just show you. All right. What I did here is I turned the OLED light to the 100 because I really want to take the advantage of that peak brightness a little bit, especially since I'm running this on the HDR, so I left it up on 100. Contrast, I felt like should be at the 80. I felt like if I turn the contrast all the way up, it's just it's just, how do I explain this? It kills my white brights levels, so I just felt like leave it at 80 is the best. Sharpness here, I felt like 10, it's perfect. Color, I left it at 66, and a color temperature, I left it at 0, because 0 gives you that perfect balance. Now you guys can go with a warm 1, you know, with the warm 4, warm 5. That is okay. You know, even with the warm 5, you're still gonna be good. But if you leave it at like 0, that's gonna give you a perfect balance between the warm and cold. All right, but you should be okay with color temperature 0. But if you want to, you can leave it at warm 5. You know, it's not gonna bother that much. However, I like to leave it at 0 here. OLED light, like I said, 100. And then advanced controls. Now dynamic color, I left it at high. And the reason I left it at high is because I want that color to pop a little bit more, a little bit better, so I can get that wide color gamut, you know. And wide color gamut, I left it at wide because I remember I want to get that 10-bit full spectrum of wide color gamut here. Dynamic contrast, I left it at off because it's HDR. I don't think I really need it, because if you use it, look what happens. Like, all of my bright levels are being crushed now. Look at the clouds, they're being crushed. If I turn it off, keep an eye on the clouds right here. If I turn it off, now I get more detail on the clouds. So I leave the dynamic contrast is something you can use if you're not running HDR. If you're running HDR, you really don't need that dynamic contrast. Just get rid of that. And the gamma, it's at the medium because that's what the why would you mess with the gamma, honestly? You have an OLED TV, your deep dark levels are perfect, so you don't need to mess with. You should never mess with the gamma on the OLED because your deep dark levels are perfect. The only thing you should mess with is try to get that peak brightness a little bit better, a little bit higher, you know. So that's pretty much what I'm running here. You know what, since we're doing this, let's test another game as well. Let's do a test on the Ghost Recon Wildlands. That's another HDR game. Let's do some tests on that. Let's see how well it looks on the Ghost Recon Wildlands since we're doing this. All right, here we are at the Ghost Recon Wildlands, and it's loading up right now. So let's see how well it looks. This is HDR, and I'm running this through my HTCP2 pass-through. So let's go check it out. I will do these comparisons with Samsung KS-8000, and I'll do that later on this week. I'll show you some of the comparison between the two, in the dark room and in the lit up room, and the difference between the two when it's a lit up room and the difference when it's the dark room. So we'll do a different environments. Well, the first thing I noticed, because I've been playing this game on the edge-lit Samsung KS-8000, the first thing I notice is obviously the contrast ratio between the deep dark levels and the bright white levels. You definitely notice that contrast ratio because of the OLED. You know, that's the one significant benefit that the OLED has. And the reason I have to mention this, it's not to say that the OLED is the greatest TV ever made, because it's not. The reason I have to mention this, it's so that way, for those of you who are thinking about buying either LED or OLED, will have some sense of understanding the difference. All I'm doing here is letting you know the difference between the two. I never said OLED is the greatest TV, nor did I ever say Samsung KS-8000 is the greatest TV. It has its benefits. I never said Samsung KS-8000 is the greatest TV. All I said was it's a really well balanced TV. What I mean by that, I mean that it has a lot of cool accolades. It's a really well balanced TV. It has a great zero latency for the gaming. It's good for movies. It has a wide color gamut. It has HDR. It has that peak brightness that helps with the quantum dot technology. Gives you those colors pop. But I never said that it's the greatest TV. I never went that far to say that. You find me a video where I said that the Samsung KS-8000 is the greatest TV, please send me a link and send me a timeline where I said that on a video. All I ever said was it's a really well balanced TV. Just like I never said that the OLED is the greatest TV, because it's not the greatest TV. What it is, OLED is a good TV for those of you who like to experience movies in a more vivid depth of vision, picture quality. What I mean by depth of vision is because of those organic light emitting diodes that give the deep dark levels more three-dimensional lifelike look to it, you know. But it's lacking on that peak brightness, meaning that this TV won't be so lit up and bright in very... If you put this TV, for example, like in a big warehouse with bunch of LED lights, neon lights, bunch of fluorescent light, I'm sorry, surrounded. You know, when you go to a warehouse like Home Depot and these fluorescent lights, and then you put this TV there, the difference will be much higher on the LED edge-lit full array backlit TV like Samsung KS-8000 or 9800. You will notice that you know, the one that will stand out in that environment is going to be Samsung KS series, whether it's 900, 9000 or 8000. Okay, so and I have to acknowledge these differences, so that way you guys understand when you go out there to buy a TV that these are the differences. This is what you're getting with the Samsung KS-8000, and this is what you're getting with the OLED. Now, is the here's me playing this game. Is the input lag really that bad? No, it's not. But is this a gaming TV? No, you shouldn't go out buying an OLED TV to game. I mean, you can game on it, but you shouldn't buy it for competition. Like, if you're a very competitive player, I wouldn't even suggest to go with the Samsung KS-8000 series. I would suggest to go with what Ron John has. Ron John, my friend, he has a Samsung 6000 series, and has like a really fast response time, and it's perfect for gaming. So you want to go with something like that. Remember, guys, when you go buy TVs, you got to ask yourself, for what purpose am I buying this TV? Am I watching a lot of movies? Am I building a home theater? Or am I just going to be gaming on it? If you're going to be gaming on it, by all means, go with the KS-9800. That's a full array backlit. It has much better peak brightness, contrast ratio. Okay, so you want to go with that. Or you can go with the Sony. You can go with the Sony X900 or X930. You can go with that. But if you really like want to have a really well balanced TV, like a really great TV, like state of the art, great, well balanced TV, then you want to go with the Z90, 65-inch Z90 or 75-inch Z90. If you go with a Z90 75-inch, I don't know if they have, I think they do have 75-inch, then man, with that TV, you're good for another 8 years, easily for another 8 years. It's a great TV, but it will cost you arm and leg. It's gonna cost you a car, like you buying a Honda Accord 2007 or something like that. It's gonna cost you, man. You know, you might as well put a set of wheels on that TV. It's gonna cost you a car. You know, so. And the reason I recommended Samsung KS-8000 because it's a very affordable TV for a size and what it has to offer for the money. If you can get KS-8000 65-inch for a 1200, 1300, go buy it. If you can get this OLED for half a price, brand new, like I did for 1600, go for it. But remember, you got to ask yourself, what are you buying the OLED for? You got to ask yourself that question. What purpose are you buying it for? You will get excellent picture quality for gaming, but the response time, the low latency, there will be some issues there. It's not the greatest. All right, so there's a couple of games I just tested here. There will be more tests. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you didn't enjoy it, well, there's not much I can do for you about that. For those of you who enjoyed it, thanks. Appreciate it. Alright guys, have a good one though. Take care.